All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Hiba Rahim, Hibarahim. I'm the Interim Executive Director here at CAIR Florida. I want to welcome everybody to our press conference today. I want to thank our ally community, our friends, for being here, and thank the media also for covering this. This press conference is a response to Governor Ron DeSantis' executive order attacking and defaming CAIR Florida. CAIR Florida is an American civil rights organization that is registered, federally recognized 501c3 that has been operating in the state for over a quarter of a century. CAIR Florida is an organization that defends victims of discrimination and works to uphold the Constitution. We've met with elected officials for decades. We have met with elected officials at local, state, and federal levels. We represent the voice of the American Muslim community, and we defend not only the Muslim community, but the community at large when there are instances of discrimination. We have protected the rights of Floridians from the Muslim community and even outside of the Muslim community. We've helped secure their religious rights. We've defended against First Amendment free speech violations. We've supported prisoners' rights. We've protected free speech for students. And we've stood up against discrimination. We've contributed to local food pantries and back-to-school drives to advance equity amongst all of us. We've stood with community organizations to support their causes just as they've stood with us to support ours. And we've engaged in interfaith work to get to know our Christian brothers and sisters and our Jewish brothers and sisters from different faiths, because we know full well that when we meet together, when we open our hearts and minds, when we have these conversations, when we find common grounds, we have a better and more beautiful America. We have a safer America. Our community allies include groups from faith-based organizations, Christian and Jewish communities, civil rights groups, and others who we work with to promote our shared values and causes. If you are not sure about the work that we do, we invite you to follow us on our social media. Our work is public, and we are very proud to defend our Constitution. We are very proud to defend the founding principles of our Constitution, to defend free speech. We are proud to defend democracy, and we are proud to be America first. But that's where the problem is. That's when these issues that we advocate for become problematic for some of our politicians, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. When these issues become problematic for some of our politicians, we get attacked. I'll explain this very clearly to the American people and to the people of Florida. I will tell you exactly what this smear campaign is about. From the moment that Ron DeSantis took office as the governor of Florida, he has prioritized serving the Israeli government over serving the people of Florida. He hosted his first official cabinet meeting in Israel, not in Florida, not in our capital, not in Tallahassee, but in Israel. Ron DeSantis has sent millions of Floridians' taxpayer money to Israeli government bonds, while Floridians are suffering from a lack of health care, while Floridians are suffering from food scarcity, from economic crises, from high rent. Our economy is suffering, but our tax money is going to fuel a better quality of life for Israelis. And billions of U.S. taxpayer money is funding the genocide in Gaza. Let me be clear. CAIR Florida highlights these issues not only as opposition to the genocide, but because sending so much money to a foreign nation while our people are struggling to make ends meet directly hurts Americans. It directly hurts Floridians. So when Floridians are realizing this, because CAIR Florida is leading the campaign to bring awareness to these issues, because CAIR Florida is working with coalition partners, because CAIR Florida is making sure that we don't just ignore these facts, that we raise them and elevate them and make sure people are opening their eyes and understanding the reality of what our Israel first politicians are doing. Yes, we have become the victim of another smear campaign. This is not the first time that this has happened. This is just another chapter of the same playbook that we have seen being used against our African American brothers and sisters during the civil rights era. We have seen this playbook being used against minority groups, the Irish, the Italian Americans, even the Jewish Americans in the past, Native Americans. It is a chapter of the same playbook used over and over again. Because when groups become powerful enough to stand up against injustice, and when the masses of the people start to sense this injustice and stand up and speak out against it, the politicians have nothing left to do but to attack based on false, baseless conspiracy theories, and that's exactly what's happening right now with CAIR Florida. In response, we will not back down. CAIR Florida will file a lawsuit against Governor Ron DeSantis in response to his defamatory and unconstitutional order baselessly smearing CAIR Florida. To our governor, your designation has no basis in law or fact. You do not have the constitutional authority to unilaterally declare any American or an American institution a foreign terrorist group, nor is there any basis to level the smear against our organization. CAIR is our nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization. It is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have 25 affiliated chapters nationwide and over 500 board and staff members across the country. Our mission is to enhance the public's understanding of Islam, protect civil rights, promote justice, and empower American Muslims. Our mission is also to empower and educate and enlighten the masses about where their tax money is going, who is funding a genocide, and what we should be doing with our taxpayer money. And if that is going to agitate or cause discomfort to any of our Israel First politicians, then get ready to be uncomfortable, because we will not be silenced. Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to call our Policy Director, Megan Ammer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Eimer, Policy Director for CAIR Florida. That's Megan, M-E-G-A-N, last name Eimer, which is A-M-E-R. And I will say, as a Christian, I am completely appalled by Governor DeSantis' current order. Thank you for the support in the room, because this organization has been around for so many years, protecting the rights of all. Look at the mission statement on the CAIR Florida website. What does it say? To defend civil liberties and equal justice for all. Although we support the Muslim community, if anybody comes to our door needing assistance when it comes to knowing their rights, when it comes to immigration, we don't ask them, what is your religion? What is your basis? What do you think about the genocide in Israel? No, we open our door and we welcome you with open arms, no matter what your background is, because we are a civil rights organization, and that's what we do. We promote the civil rights for everybody here in Florida. As policy director, I keep watch of all the different bills that are going on in Tallahassee. Yes, I focus on the bills that are going to affect the Muslim community, but I also focus on any bill that's going to affect the civil rights of any person here in Florida. And then we work with our community, and our community fights against that. So unfortunately, Governor Ron DeSantis, the Christians, there's many Jewish people, there's many other faith-based organizations that work with CAIR. We build coalitions. We recently built a coalition of over 100 faith-based different civil rights organizations to free a Florida teen who was imprisoned abroad. And we got over 40 faith-based and different civil rights groups joining together here in Florida to call for his release as well. So we will continue to advocate for the civil rights of all Floridians, just not Muslims, atheists, Jews, Christians, whoever you are. If you need help when it comes to immigration, if you need help with knowing your rights when it comes to ICE, if you need help knowing your rights when you can protest, and as far as for free speech, that's what CAIR Florida is here for. We are here to help you. So this is an appalling attack to try to take attention away from the current genocide going on in Gaza. It's to create a scapegoat. It's to create fear-mongering. As politicians and as leaders of the state, it is our job to bring the communities together, to bring interfaith communities together, and to protect the rights of the people in your state. So Governor DeSantis, you need to take a look back at your job description and determine it is what you're supposed to be doing here for Florida and making the state of Florida better and not sowing division and hatred within our communities.
Indeed. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Reverend Andy Oliver.
Simply put, this proclamation against CAIR is Governor DeSantis' latest attempt to try to be like Donald Trump, targeting a minority community to score political points. But I want to speak as a Christian to other Christians. We're approaching the season of Christmas, and the real Christmas story was not soft. It's about a frightened ruler named Herod who labeled an entire community dangerous out of fear for a baby and used fear to justify violence. He forced the Holy Family to flee as refugees. And history repeats that same pattern. As we heard earlier, Dr. King called a terrorist, Nelson Mandela called a terrorist. Whenever people fight for dignity, someone in power tries to criminalize them. So when the governor calls CAIR, a respected Muslim civil rights organization, a terrorist group, Christians should recognize exactly what is happening. It's fear-mongering. It isn't truth. And I have to say, myself as a Christian, I have to ask myself, how can I proclaim to follow Jesus, a man executed by the state, like those labeled threats, and stay silent while our Muslim neighbors are smeared? I can't. My faith won't let me. Christians do not stand with Herod. We stand with the Holy Family. We stand with those who are targeted. And today, that means standing with CAIR. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Randy Oliver with the Allendale United Methodist Church. Next, I'd like to call Ahmed Sharif with the Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee in Tampa.
I just have a brief statement on behalf of the Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee here in Tampa. We strongly denounce the executive order issued by Governor DeSantis, falsely labeling CAIR Florida and CAIR as a terrorist organization. This declaration is baseless, dangerous, and fundamentally un-American. It tramples on core constitutional freedoms, free speech, religious liberty, equality, and justice for all. And it weaponizes state power against an established civil rights organization that has served Florida for many decades. ADC Tampa has worked closely with CAIR Florida to advance the civil liberties and human rights for every American. Just recently, we worked to advocate for the release of an American teenager held in an Israeli prison. We fought Islamophobia and discrimination, defended religious freedom on college campuses, and hosted elected officials at community events. All this to uplift the civil engagement of Arab and Muslim American voters across our state. This order is not about security. It is a cheap political maneuver intended to appease the interests of the Israeli government, distract from Israel's ongoing genocide, and silence advocacy efforts that expose their human rights abuses. Governor DeSantis' actions do not put America first. They undermine the civil liberties of Americans to shield the accountability of a foreign government. This step sets a chilling precedent. If civil rights organizations can be targeted for their advocacy, then every Floridian's freedoms are at risk. We are confident that the American public will reject this blatant assault on our constitutional values. Finally, ADC Tampa calls on Florida communities, civil rights organizations, elected officials at every level, and all individuals committed to democracy to firmly denounce this authoritarian action. Protecting our rights is not optional. It is our responsibility as Americans. We stand in full solidarity with CAIR and CAIR Florida, and we support their legal challenges to this unlawful and dangerous executive order. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call Mira with the National Lawyers Guild in Tampa.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Miranda Margolis. I'm an attorney with the Tampa Bay chapter of the National Lawyers Guild, and I'd like to briefly share a statement from NLG National. The National Lawyers Guild condemns Florida's unlawful and discriminatory designation of CAIR as a terrorist organization. This designation is without legal or factual basis and constitutes a dangerous escalation of anti-Muslim political rhetoric weaponized to suppress constitutionally protected advocacy and civil rights work. The governor does not have the legal authority to unilaterally declare any U.S.-based nonprofit a terrorist organization. He is attempting to bypass federal jurisdiction and decades of legal precedent, which reserve such determinations for the U.S. Departments of State and Treasury, notwithstanding the fact that federal designation mechanisms are also frequently weaponized for political repression. To Governor DeSantis, you do not have the authority to unilaterally declare any Americans or American institutions terrorist groups, nor is there any basis to level this smear against CAIR. This action is a political stunt, not a lawful designation. It has no application under federal material support statutes and carries no enforceable criminal or counterterrorism consequences. Its limited impact is confined to obscure real property prohibitions under state law and attempt to restrict CAIR and Muslim communities from acquiring or retaining land, echoing historical repression tactics used against marginalized groups. More troublingly, this designation perpetuates blatant anti-Muslim discrimination, aligning the state with known anti-Muslim extremist rhetoric and fear-mongering. CAIR is an American civil rights organization with a 30-year track record of defending civil liberties, opposing all forms of bigotry, including Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, anti-Palestinian hate, anti-Semitism, and unjust violence. By falsely conflating constitutionally protected advocacy with terrorism, the Florida governor is engaging in a modern form of McCarthyism that threatens the work of all communities engaged in anti-war, anti-imperialist, and human rights defense. The National Lawyers Guild stands alongside CAIR and all Muslim-led institutions targeted by state repression. We call on legal advocates, civil rights organizations, bar associations, and elected officials to publicly reject this designation, continue supporting CAIR, and prepare for necessary constitutional litigation. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll open the floor to questions you may have.
What is your response to the governor's statements today that he welcomes this lawsuit because it gives him the chance, it gives his legal team the chance to go through various aspects of discovery and learn more about the inner workings of the organization?
We welcome it as well, and we will see him in the courtroom.
What's your response to, not response, but what's your view of people who might say, I don't have time to follow the ins and outs of civil rights law. I am busy making ends meet. I have lots to do in my life. For groups out there, for people out there who aren't necessarily Muslim or members of a minority community, what is your comment to them about the dangers of going down a slippery slope when one group gets attacked from a civil rights perspective?
If you study the trajectory of our history, you'll see that these types of attacks were made against multiple minority groups in the past. So you have the Jewish community, the Italian community, the Irish community, the Japanese, the Vietnamese, the African Americans, and continuously you see these attacks against these minority groups whenever there is some type of discomfort that our politicians face. And so what I would say is this is an attack on our Constitution. An attack on CAIR is an attack on our liberties, it's an attack on our Constitution. And if you care about upholding the Constitution, if you are truly America first, then you have to prioritize fighting against these types of attacks and standing with minority groups, whether they're the Muslim community or any other minority group, because today the Muslims, tomorrow somebody else.
In the governor's remarks, he also mentioned that he expected the federal government to take a similar path against the same organizations. He also said that he expects that the legislature this year in Florida will take action to codify the things that he finds that he believes that CAIR and the Muslim Brotherhood qualify as terrorist organizations. Are you concerned that in today's political climate that may happen federally and in the state legislature?